Welcome to the Fur's greatest podcast in the world, and I am your host, Khord Kitty. We've been going on about a 1.5 year hiatus, which is so sucky, but lots of cool things have happened. What happened is I moved into an RV, and then I moved into a house, and it's like, what? It's pretty cool. So now we are going to be having a whole new cast of fun furries. We have, in reverse alphabetical order, ZincAwesome Khord the Skunk. I am Khord Kitty, and we have Foxler the Fox, Dax the Fox, and Crazy Possum, and Chris the Wolf. ZincAwesome, make these strangers familiar with you.
I'm the only English person in the chat, so I'm already the odd one out. Yes, we're both cats, so we're both superior in our own separate ways.
Obviously, there's no question of that.
Yeah. What else? I am a YouTuber, or trying to be a YouTuber.
Aren't we all?
Everyone's trying to be a YouTuber nowadays, but it's okay. And as you know, Khord, I'm also trying to become a voice actor as well.
I tried to join a YouTube partnership, and they stopped paying me in April. They used to pay me $20 a month. It was actually my only source of income, and now they stopped paying me, and I'm getting...
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Why is that?
No, not a
How
clue.
do you operate on $20 a month?
Oh, so you're one of those demonetization victims.
I think so.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I play horror games usually, so most of my content is me either whimpering, screaming, or expletives. So most of my stuff got demonetized as well.
Hey, Khord, I have a question about
What's
that partnership program. Is it just like you get a certain amount of views and then YouTube will personally message you, or do you have to sign up for it yourself? What do you do?
You have to sign up for it.
I signed up for it. I signed a contract. I got a pretty good earnings for about 2 years, and then it demonetized everything.
Oh my goodness.
Good times.
Yep.
I'll ask you more about that later. Yeah.
Very, very sad. Very sad. Khord the Skunk. This is actually my first time talking to you, voice to voice.
I mean, yeah, voice. So I am a CS major at college now. I do a lot of music stuff and pixel art stuff. Mainly, they combine together into making games and things like that. I have a Tumblr. I have an FA. I have other things, but I don't really use them. I don't really use the FA either.
Next up, I am Khord Kitty. I am right now a stay-at-home kitty. I have a son. Woo! My first podcast after my son was born. Whee! His name's Damien. His fursona name has not been figured out yet. He doesn't know how to talk yet.
It better be dark. It better be
little
dark.
early.
All right, next up on the introductions is Foxler.
Wait, what? When did I get, jolted into this?
You are jolted into this now. Tell all the people who don't know about you about you.
Well, I am Foxler the Fox, or Foxler Nightfire. I think, at this current moment, I'm the most infamous hated furry of all time.
But Ryan Hill's trying to catch up. Ryan Hill is trying to catch up.
I don't know these names.
But I am a Corsac fox that likes to be random and wild.
So is it true that you founded the Furry Raiders?
That is correct.
We'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Foxler, did you do an interview with a YouTuber by the name of Cotherix?
Yes.
Oh, so you're that guy. Okay.
Yeah, I'm that guy.
No.
All right. Wow. We do have a special guest here.
Let's get to Dax the Fox. See,
as far as uniqueness goes, I like to study claims of the supernatural and paranormal. I have a wide collection of religious scriptures from all types of religions. It's been a fascination of mine, including Scientology, which is a whole other topic. And I like to speak Esperanto. It's a language I'm trying to achieve fluency in. It's a constructed language, which is just as real as any other.
Why does Esperanto sound so familiar?
Esperanto's the one where it's
it
everything's
it borrows from all
simplified.
sorts of other languages.
Yeah.
So that makes it pretty familiar.
Crazy Possum. Other than being crazy, tell more about you.
Okay, well, I started as a former animator. I don't do it anymore. I just do it a little bit. But other than that, recently I've been moving on to preservation of entertainment technologies and onto just pretty much preservating everything that I possibly can. So
Preservating.
All right, that's a new word. I think we have to call Webster's. We're going to have to stick it in there in the next edition. Now, let's go to Chris the Wolf, the last introduction. That was very nicely crowded. I like it when it's crowded, because then, it's like a big family that you never had.
Yeah, exactly. But I am Chris the Wolf. I am Chris the Wolf. My major is currently in astrophysics. I have no creative talents whatsoever, except for writing. I am your resident D&D nerd. I build worlds in my head daily. And I also like very long walks on the beach.
Now, I just want to head off with what has happened since my last podcast recording. Pretty simple. I got married, and then I had a son, and then I moved into a house, and now I'm your generic nuclear family. And we're actually, we might get bombed by North Korea, so it'll be legit nuclear.
Quite a possibility.
Spice of furry in there.
And that's how the real furries exist.
Anyone else seen the North Korean children's cartoon with like the chipmunk things?
Dude, Squirrel and Fox?
I think so.
Squirrel and Hedgehog.
I heard about
Yeah.
that.
That's great. Yeah.
Oh, it's actually pretty funny stuff.
The Americans are like all wolves and they have the spots lady and whatnot. It's kind of funny.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, I think that should get dubbed. Like, someone should do a fan dub of that. That would be awesome.
Can we do that at the end of this podcast?
Let's do it. Yeah, why not?
I would love to do that.
I'll do subtitles in Esperanto for you guys.
That would be helpful to exactly you.
Oh, and one more detail about my absence. A big reason why I was absent was because the program I was using stopped working, and I was in an RV. So I downloaded open source broadcasting, which is usually used for like the Markiplier type thing, but it's good with audio too. So that's what I'm using to record this.
Neato.
Yep.
How does it feel knowing that you have taken all the steps to become statistically more successful than everyone else?
Successful at what?
Well, I mean, you have the nuclear family. You're statistically more likely to be better off in life through that.
Well, I'm in more debt.
Well, except for,
Yeah, debt's gonna catch up to you.
I'm going to say, except for the $100,000 it takes to raise the kid.
Yeah.
More than that.
Just 100,000.
I heard the estimate was more like $1 million a child.
I just checked the internets. Apparently, it's $233,000 estimated cost of raising a kid.
And that's not including college, bro.
Well, that's like 218, and that's average.
And it doesn't really factor in emotional trauma. I mean,
Oh, you'll never be the same, Khord.
yeah, I mean, like, you see that sort of stereotypical, the baby with the pacifier. What they don't tell you is the baby prefers your finger, and he prefers biting on your finger until you are in excruciating pain.
And they drop the pacifier all the time.
Yeah, Damien's a pretty sick kid, but that's why I love him. You could tell he's from my flesh and blood because he's so cruel.
Now, whose idea was it to name him Damien?
That was my idea. I was sort of inspired by there's this concert I went to in 2005 with Damien Rice and Fiona Apple, so my firstborns will be Damien and Fiona.
Okay.
Not Damien and Apple.
I do like the name, but it's just I know everyone else is going to think of The Omen when they hear it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I think Damien Dark from the DC comics.
Well,
okay.
I am the atheist,
Oh, yeah.
so that, I could say, and I do like The Omen, so I don't know. I'll leave it up to
Induct
you
your
guys.
family into the Satanic Temple.
All right, now because I really like that British accent, next topic will be Zinc.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so.
Yay! I've always found it really, really interesting, like asking different furries how they found the fandom, how they got into the fandom, because everyone anywhere seems to have either a really short story with something stupid happening or a really long story with something weird happening, where it's like 3 or 4 different things come together and they just happen on the word furry, and suddenly this giant world comes to them. It's like, whoa. So yeah.
Or maybe you were Googling for porn and found something weird.
Yep.
There's your short story with a weird twist to it. My story, I was 16 and I was volunteering in an animal shelter because I didn't have very many friends. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to have 40 dogs and 20 cats to look after instead. And it was amazing. And the guy that I was kind of shadowing to learn the rules, learn all the different rotas and how to do everything around the shelter, I walked into the the break room and found him doodling and drawing, and I looked over his shoulder and there's this A4 piece of paper that's completely covered in this massive, like, big bulky werewolf, like proper edgelord werewolf, like dark sunglasses, complete black flowing leather coat that's billowing in the wind, all this sort of stuff. I asked him what it was and the word furry came up. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't think anything about it. And then when I went home, I was like, okay. He said furry. Is this a thing? So I typed it into YouTube and found all those, like, you know, the art shows that are put to different types of music on, like furry art.
Yeah,
those kind of things. I found them, and luckily for me, the ones that I found were to my music tastes, and some of them were really, really good. I was like heavily into Linkin Park because I was 16. So I started looking through all these, and I was like, whoa, this is really cool. So I started looking for what other furries have done, and I found a site called Furry for Life, which is now no longer a thing, but it was like a furry Facebook kind of thing, and I went from there. But the kind of weird thing that happened was I realized I was a furry because I looked back in my life and thought, wait a second, all the movies I really, really liked as a kid, let me think. Okay, so there was Robin Hood from Disney, a load of animal characters, Aristocats, and I thought more about all these movies and realized that every single one of them was like animal characters. I was like, oh, okay, let's think about what kind of video game characters I liked. Okay, Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, Ratchet and Clank. And I realized from like the first time I ever got to choose a game that I played, I'd always chosen the furry thing. So it wasn't Jak and Daxter, it was Ratchet and Clank. It wasn't like Assassin's Creed, it was Sly Cooper. And going back into my games, like my PS1 games and PS2 games, all of them, every single one of them, bar a couple that I've been gifted and not actually chosen myself, were all furry related. And I was like, whoa, I've been a furry for about 10 years and haven't even known it.
Destiny.
I know.
Now, actually, to correct you a little bit, you said Furry for Life isn't around anymore. In fact, it is still around. I'm on the website right now. It's still functional. And
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, they went through a transition. They went to a transition stage.
Oh, so now it's
it became a Google group.
Okay.
I believe.
Well, no, I'm on
but
it right now. It looks legit.
Well, it went from Google Group because they were migrating servers, I believe, and then...
Oh, I never went back on it.
I think they wiped all the accounts.
Oh, I was a VIF on that site. I was a very important furry. Yeah, just because
it says there's almost 5,000 members on their site. So
wow, I should probably get back on there then.
Maybe. I mean, like, I've noticed there's quite a few furry social website or social media or social networking sites that are just slowly failing through time because it's like it's
like
Fur Affinity.
Like those fucking scam dating things that used to be advertised on FA.
Yeah, there's I think Furry Mate and Furry Friends, and both of them basically they have the scam. Yeah, again the scam thing where you can't send messages or respond to messages, and it's
you can't read message. You can make an account, but you can't read anything anyone sends you unless you pay.
You got to pay a lot of money. I mean, come on.
And most of the accounts are fakes too.
Yeah.
And they have bots that send you messages.
There's a special place in hell for the makers of that site. That's what I'm going to
say. Well, I know what my next project is.
Yeah, you have to think though how much money they actually made off that, because everyone is kind of internet savvy now. They know when something's going to be a scam, more or less, like 99%
except my mom. Except my boss.
Well, you got to wonder how much money they walked away with originally when people signed up for it.
Yeah.
Like my
mom got a message in her email that she had received $40 million and all she had to do was give the bank account number. I had to rip the phone out of her hand to prevent her from doing that. Yeah.
Oh, that's Nigerian prince wants to be my friend.
Yeah.
Sites like that have operate on whales. What they call basically they get most of their profit from a very tiny minority of the users.
Right.
Correct, because it's a psychological thing where you're promised something. I can't remember what it is, but the second that they go, "Oh, hey, well, we need a little more money," your immediate response is just go, "Okay, fine," and that just keeps on happening. I think it's the same reason slot machines are so popular.
Yeah,
they're addictive.
And the microtransaction style games.
I am proud to say I've never done a microtransaction. Never done it.
Same.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if anybody's actually considering going on Furry Mate or whatever, there's something called Pounced. Try it.
Classic.
It might be classic, but it's not class. I mean, I know it's not classy, but whatever. I don't care.
It's at least legitimate.
Let's head on to the next topic. Now, this is pretty cool. So crazy, you've actually created a furry animation, got it on public access television, and somehow have no record that it ever existed.
Wow. Well, there's a lot of issues with that because when it was on there, it was a local station. It was on channel 26, which is, if you don't know, it's just a tiny little station in Cadillac, Michigan. And what happened is it was on there, and I somehow was stupid and got rid of the rights for it. And I can't post it, and so they own it. And since it had issues with people liking it, it was never shown again, and I can't post it because I don't own the rights to it anymore.
Now, let's say if you were to post it, do you really think a public access channel would have enough lawyers and clout to track you down and sue you? I mean, if I was working at a public access station, I would just be desperate trying to find people to get on there, you know?
I mean, they'd have more than I do, so.
That's very true.
Well, like I said, I'm just being cautious, so. Yeah, I'm cautious when it comes to legal issues.
You're crazy cautious.
Yeah, let's go with that. Well, lately I've just been not making anything anymore because I've had other busy things I've been working on. Well, it's what I mentioned in my intro. I've been doing preservation of entertainment technologies, as in people donate me stuff, and I take if it's a computer or something, I take it apart, and if it's not working, I do a complete schematics of the boards and everything, and get all the parts lists, and then I just keep them on display if they're working.
Get to the next topic, the last topic before the interview. Chris the Wolf, you said something about some study about dog facial expressions.
I figured it would be kind of a topical thing since none of us are wolves or dogs here. But they did a study on puppies and dogs and 24 different breeds, I want to say, about human interaction and how their facial expressions change just simply by the owner or the person looking at them. And I thought that was really interesting because at what point in evolutionary history does a dog learn to interact with a human in such a way? And thought that was interesting because they even did it with food and just food, tiny little robot brings food out, no kind of facial expression. And when I say facial expression, the puppy dog eyes, hey, give me attention kind of thing. So that was something that I figured I'd bring up, try to expand on, but I'm losing words.
Have there been any studies done on what dog breed is the smartest?
They're all dumb, so it doesn't matter.
That I don't know.
Which dog breed do you think is the dumbest?
Probably some of the more mixed breeds. I say mixed breeds. Some of the ones that are bred constantly. Corgis, not pit bulls. What's the other one? What's the one with the
Pugs?
Yeah,
Staffers.
Saying pugs.
I think so. Yes, that one.
Staffordshire Bull Terriers.
I mean, when your snout is that short, something is very special about you.
No, those are proper bulldogs. Yeah.
But I think in terms of intelligence, I think poodles are some of the higher intelligence.
Yeah.
Do a quick Google.
It's usually working dogs, working kind of species like border collies and German shepherds. They just have better cognition and faster thinking.
I mean, I guess the fact that German shepherds are always trained by police forces speaks for itself.
Yeah.
You're not training poodles to do that.
How do you really measure a dog's intelligence?
That is a good question.
There's some tests with noticing changes in patterns of times when food is given and stuff. There's some things.
Yeah.
Its ability to adapt.
Yeah.
There's some kind of very wishy-washy ones where they kind of look for a dog's expression to see if it looks surprised. So there was ones where they put a bowl in front of them and they drop 5 treats into the bowl and then kind of slyly take a couple away and then put it in front of them, and if they look surprised, it means they can count.
One study a fact does not make, because there can be problems with the skin sizes and things like that. Yeah.
I mean, that goes for everything.
There's the cognition test they use for dogs in the police force, where they put a bowl of food on one side of a small piece of plastic perspex and put the dog on the other, and if it can't figure out to go round the see-through glass, then it's not smart enough to be a police dog.
That sounds like a pretty basic test. I feel like all dogs would be able to pass that, but I guess not.
Not really, no. Especially when the glass is big enough. They focus completely in on the food that's just in front of them, but a piece of glass in the way.
And then they face plant.
Yeah, they don't have the mental capacity to be able to look away from the food, see 2 feet away there's a way to get round. That's why you see so many videos of like dogs barking at each other through fences when there's a gate open 2 feet away from them.
All right.
Dogs are great.
We're good.
All right, so let's get to the special guest interview. And oh boy, Foxler, I've known you for before you were famous, let's just say. Oh.
Yeah, we've been around the block.
Right. So let me first, but before the Furry Raiders ever existed, what was your life? What was a normal Foxler day?
Before I created the group, or before they got infamous?
Before the group was created, what did you want to be known as? What did you want to be remembered as? You know, what was the legacy that you were yearning for?
Actually, I wasn't yearning for really anything. It was mostly focusing on myself and looking for a relationship that I can, be dedicated towards.
Foxler needs some Foxler love.
Yeah. So that was my whole ambitions after I joined the fandom. So that was my normal day, surprisingly, and it had nothing to do with oh my god, it's that guy. No, it had nothing to do with that. It just kind of happened. I'm a series of unfortunate events.
And then what events led up to the creation of the infamous group?
Originally, the group started on Second Life in 2007, and it was just me joining Second Life, wanting to, be social with other furries, be silly, and figure out how my persona should look. And eventually I found people that I could relate to, that we all wanted to do silly stuff, and got together, made a group to manage our little parcel that we had, and it just slowly grew from there. It's just constantly, just being furries with each other. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. It was just the silly mayhem of internet life.
When you say grew, are you talking about 30, 300, 3,000?
It originally started with just 10 or 12, and then by the end of my Second Life years, we almost reached 1,000 on our sim that we owned at the time. So it was there, and people knew me in different ways. Some didn't like me, some did. Yeah, but at the end of the day, the group was just about trying to enjoy the furry lifestyle. And
now, what is the moment where someone decided, hey, there's this cool product I found on Second Life, this little armband thing, let's use it to represent our group? Like, whose idea was that, and who created that, really?
Well, at the time, I was the original that originally found it for myself, and when somebody decided that, this would be a great idea, on Second Life, it was just, Foxer wears one, I want to wear one too, kind of situation.
So you were a trendsetter on Second Life.
Yeah, apparently.
You were popular on the internet. Like, you were totally the guy.
And then, when it became actually into the real world, it was my friend Nightwolf that was like, this would look good on you. Like, yeah, it does. I think this would complement my fursuit really well. And then everybody decided to go with it.
And when did you start thinking, like, wait a minute, what? Somebody is against my fashion statement? Like, when did that first begin? How soon after you made the fashion change on your suit?
On Second Life, after 2011, 10, when we decided to kill off Furry Raiders in the Second Life domain, it was like 1 or 2 people like having a little refit that I didn't even understand at the time. Like, I was not knowledgeable about what they were claiming, and I was just like, okay, whatever, I'm gonna go back do my furry thing. But when it came into the real world and actually being the first person to jump at me was right after we did the Zootopia private screening event in Denver. We hosted an event for that as a group. We thought, it'd be really cool to bring furries together, watch a movie that we've all been waiting for, and I decided to financially pay for it all, and everything was great until the next day, and I never used Twitter or Facebook or social media at the time, and I got that first comment. It's like, oh, I can't believe I hugged a Nazi.
And so that premiere happened in 2000. I don't even remember. Was that 2015?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So that's when it all started. That's when you became from cool, suave internet celebrity to a Nazi. Wow.
Yes. Oh no.
So
it's coming.
So I'm really curious about what the other people in the podcast. What do you know about this? The infamy which became the furry Nazi scare of 2016. Like, you were 15. Like, what has other people heard about it? Because what happened was it blew up, and I don't think there was one person in the fandom who didn't hear about it. That's my impression.
See, to be honest with you, I'm not that involved in the furry community, so all that I saw was a couple videos from Cothrix, one of them including the interview with Foxler, and it's been a while since I even watched that, so I'm still trying to remember a lot of the details mentioned in that show. I'd like a question. I have a question for Foxler. Is your Wiki Fur page, would you say that the information on that page is accurate about you?
A lot of it's out of context and not pieced together. It's like you're trying to dissect a person's 20-year furry history. That's in 4 or 5 paragraphs. It doesn't really work that way.
Okay.
I need to write a book now, apparently.
And another question I have is, what is the difference between the Furry Raiders and the Furzy? Because I'm not really familiar with these groups.
To the best of my knowledge and my personal opinion, the Fursies, from my understanding, after I learned about them, 5 years later after I started wearing the armband, was that they were just a group of furries that had a lot of interest in World War II, and they liked reenacting. Their history buffs, collectors. Those were those kind of furries. And the Furry Raiders, in a sense, was a group that was just about, being its own little large group of people that just wanted to, enjoy furry life in the community and try to do events and stuff that catered to that. But unfortunately, with the push of, it's okay to punch people because of their ideologies and all the crazy stuff that's been happening, the Furry Raiders have shifted their mission to support the fact that the community should be all about creativity and free expression, because everybody should be allowed to express themselves freely.
I agree with that.
Now,
yeah,
the thing that confused. Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say that the thing that confused me the most about the controversy which brought down Rocky Mountain Fur Con. The thing that confused me the most is if someone says punch a Nazi, and if you don't identify as a Nazi, why would you then contact the police about somebody threatening to punch you?
In which, what do you mean by who is contacting who?
Well, so the whole correct me if I'm wrong. There was somebody on Twitter said punch a Nazi, and someone else was like, hey, you don't you should, if you're gonna punch me, give me threats or whatever, I'm gonna contact the hotel and get more security to make sure that we are protected from so-called punchers. And then they were like, oh, that's this much money, that's way too much money, and that's what brought down the con. Am I wrong?
To elaborate on that a little bit more specifically, I have the screenshot that led to the whole wanting to increase security costs, but it was pretty much we had an individual that said, "Can't wait to punch these Nazis," and then someone responded and said, "Watching you get shot by someone defending themselves from unprovoked assault will be far more entertaining." And then somebody's like, "I sure hope you're not suggesting that someone would bring a gun to the convention." I'm like, and I look at this and I'm like, when do we start talking about a convention? And then they respond saying, "Sure hope you're not planning to attack innocent folks. I fully support concealed carry." And after that, people took that tweet and was like, "This is a threat," and they pushed it towards the hotel and convention to do something about it, and it ended up the hotel making the decision to increase the security costs. So that's, from my understanding and what I've spent time with this, is what caused the convention to eventually fail through.
Wow.
So, Twitter wars. Aren't they cute?
Now, a lot of people would say, "Oh, it was the armbands because it looked like the Nazis." What would you say to that argument as a counter-argument?
As a counter-argument, I would say that it was not the armbands that caused it. It was the people reacting to it continuously. I was like a nobody forever. And even Khord, I was like, nobody knew who the hell I was. And then everybody started reacting and digging and wanting to respond and put their points across. And eventually the whole world knows. So I would say that the childish responses from people and not, actually handling it like an adult is what really brought this to the point where, Twitter spouts threats of this and threats of that, to the point where the convention couldn't function anymore.
So your official response to people accusing you of being Nazi is no, 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 and no, right?
For me? Or for the group?
Or for you?
Yeah, no, I'm not even close to being in that ideology labeling.
And
do you have a label that describes your beliefs?
What was that?
Do you have a label that you think best fits your beliefs?
Oh yeah, that's my simplest answer. Furry.
I see.
Like my whole life since I was 13 revolves around furry. So,
now,
but no political label.
Would you consider yourself a part of the alt furry movement that is now trickling into the...
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, yeah.
I would say that I have really no knowledge of the group. I only know a few people that have been supportive, and I would say that they are a global partner, in a sense that, they're not going to try to hang me on a rope. So that's, you don't want to, go right into the, the wolf den and, and just get mouthed up or, it's kind of, you want to step wherever you're not going to be hanged. So I would say that I'm not affiliated, but I do have friends and people that are willing to actually spend time and talk with me. So that's the only reason why I'm in being labeled that way.
Do you think this whole controversy will push you to the brony fandom?
No. No way. No. I die as a furry.
He doesn't go that far.
Yeah, that's a little too extreme. All right, so Dax, you told me about your experience just hearing about basically how this giant explosion in the fandom affected you. Anyone else in the chat? Did you get wind of this huge controversy?
I mean, I heard of it a few times, and it didn't really affect me much, just because the circles I was in, weren't really close to con space a lot of the time.
Well, unless people went to that one con, how could it affect anybody?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I went to BLFC. That was interesting. That's where I met Khord again. Just randomly, I'm just walking there, and then he's with his stroller, and then kid. I'm just like, oh, when did this happen?
December 30th, just for the record, December 30th.
Is that when it happened, or when?
And then, actually, right before I had him take a picture with my baby, he said that someone said "F you" at the elevator, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, I was like, it was like literally, I was suiting up, and I went out of my hotel room, and I went to the elevator, and there was a couple of furries in there, and they're like, "Oh, I know you. Oh, you're like this big infamous dude," and I'm like, "I bet you $10. I walk out this elevator, someone's gonna have a problem immediately," and literally, I walk out the elevator, and they pretty much just F me off.
Now, like, if someone was to jump on you and say, you're a Nazi, it's very easy to kind of ignore them and go like, oh, it's just a troll, I don't care about people like that. But has anyone gone up to you and been very level-headed and said, look, my grandparents, they died in the Holocaust, and this imagery reminds me of this. Could you not wear this because it reminds me of my grandparents' loss? Has anyone ever said that to you, or has anything like that said? Has anyone talked to you about it in a really reasonable, non-reactionary way?
No one has actually physically confronted me in that manner. It's usually very hostile.
Verbalized. So nobody has verbally confronted you in that manner, in a civil...
No, usually they try to do it through, the internet, DM me about it and stuff, and then we have our argument points, and then I say, I understand where your position comes from. I relate this as a furry thing because it has a paw print, and I respectably decline, and then they're like, well, F off, and then block me. I'm just like,
basically, you would say that symbols are established by their intent, right? That's what you're trying to say? That's your argument, right?
I would say, yeah. We've established quite a few symbols in the fandom. Like, we can, ooh.
And, so I think the big problem is most people don't judge it by its intent. A lot of the people in the fandom, they judge it by basically the reaction to it, and the first reaction is, oh my god, this looks like a Nazi imagery. It looks like you're representing Nazis, and I think that's where the big conflict happens. It's interpreting the intent is the, you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
I think that's really it. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of people hating on me for even thinking about defending Foxler, but I
would like to say something.
What I want to do is I just want to figure out what's going on psychologically. Like, if everyone says you're a Nazi and you're saying you're not a Nazi, there's some sort of, either it's groupthink
disconnect,
or not. It's like there's something going on, and that fascinates me.
Too much social media.
I'm taking Foxler's word for it that he's not a Nazi. I'll take his word for it on that. The symbol itself, though, if you had made the color green instead of red for your armband, if you had just changed up the color scheme in any way, really, people wouldn't have had, most people would not have had the reaction that they do to you. I think a lot of us just find it hard to believe that you or anyone else involved in making that symbol doesn't realize like how other people see it. It seems like you're trolling.
Oh no, it wasn't like it wasn't like that in the beginning. For me, I was the only one that wore it for the longest time, and it was just I just kind of grew it into my persona. So it was just the way I identified as my furry pride, and I didn't see it that way because my understanding of World War II knowledge wasn't, something I spent time with in the education system in my situation at that current time. So eventually in like 2012, 2013, I learned a little bit more about it, and I was just like, well, that was pretty interesting. And then I was like, but I'm not going to let it affect my persona. So that was my decision play. And then the group decided, hey, red's nice and all that, you could do your thing, but I want rainbow. And then I was like, really? We need rainbow now? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So now the armbands are available in all wide range of colors that you can come up with and styles, and it's eventually we're thinking about doing other projects of different ways to display furriness and other attributes. So yeah, it's the armband is kind of turning into it's fading away something as we identify as. It's nothing. The armband really was just the kickstart to the whole thing. Now the group and Foxler are just a brand at this point, and so we're trying to redefine it.
Has the group gone like more population or less population since the controversy?
It's growing fast. It's like maybe 10 to 5 people a week that join in. So it's hard to keep up. I feel exhausted.
So and now one more question. I see if you were to Google your name, there's a picture of you saluting. Is that it looks like a Nazi salute, but what's your explanation for that?
With or without armband?
Without the armband.
Oh, well, I know what picture it is. That one was taken the day I got the fursuit, and the maker was like pretty much. I have the whole collection of the photos. It pretty much said, do a whole bunch of random positions so I can take pictures of them. So I ended up just doing a bunch of random positions, and then apparently I got caught doing that in some weird fashion because it's kind of like I was trying to be like, I think I was trying to be like Captain America at the time, just like out there, it's like Superman. I think that's why my arm is posed in a kind of like in the shape it is, and I'm just like trying to take flight. So that's where that came from. It wasn't like I was trying to like Heil Hitler here. It was more of like just random poses and like I said, I have the whole collection of all the photos that were taken that day by her.
What do you recall from your world history course? Like, what did they teach you? Because I know
in college.
No, well, did you get a world history course in high school?
I was a dropout actually at 16.
At 16, so So the only history what were the history courses you did take?
That I paid attention in? No. Yeah. I would say I did do a little bit of U.S. history, but that was mostly during the Columbus era. So I didn't get that far in that. And then world history was mostly starting with how civilization began. So that was the brunt of my history classes. And then I was a classic high school dropout that was like everybody was hating me because I was furry. I was open about it in high school, so they were pretty much like,
you got persecuted.
I got persecuted. I decided I'm out of this mess. I'm going to go do this college thing. I'm going to go for what I want, and I'm going to succeed. And that's exactly what happened.
Now,
so
your college classes, let's go to college history. What did you learn there? Because I don't think I took any college history classes myself.
I didn't either. Well, I did take computer science and related history with that, but that's because what my major was going to be in. So everything that was like, I would say probably 1700s and up, I just had to kind of learn on my own, and we kind of roll it from there. Usually, watching the History Channel a little bit, Discovery, some modern marvels here and there.
But yeah, to me it's interesting kind of hearing about the cause and effect, like one thing caused this to happen, that caused this to happen, that caused this to happen, that brought us to today.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm kind of like a series of unfortunate events, like the name, the style. But the thing is, people, mock the way I dress my persona as, a uniform, but it wasn't that way. I mean, I don't see how a black fishing shirt, red tie, with black cargo pants, short cargo pants, has anything to do with the Nazi uniform. It's because of the armband. In essence, that's why people are just like, that looks like a Nazi uniform. I'm like, I didn't know Nazis rolled up their sleeves. But
I think it's people just looking for a way to validate what they think. So the armband it's a cyclical kind of thinking. Well, the armband is a Nazi. Well, why? Well, Nazis wear armbands. Well, why? Well, armband, and it just keeps on going back and forth between that. And
armbands are bad, because they're a symbol. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people wore armbands, but the thing is even some of the musicians that bands I listen to, My Chemical Romance and Green Day, which some of them has other forms that are very similar, and I think Pink Floyd did one too, and Michael Jackson. But in a sense, I was modeled during the that era of music, and I'm big into music, so that's the reason why one of my ex-mates was like, you need to look like the lead singer of Green Day. I was like, why? It's like, because he's hot. I'm like, okay. So that's how that styling actually came to be. It had nothing to do with like I was trying to emulate.
So when did you learn that Nazis wore armbands? Yeah.
What? Yeah. When did Foxler realize what the swastika meant too? Yeah, I can tell you it was in high school, but it was roughly in 2011. So right after my last year in college, and people were giving me flack about the armband a little bit more, and I was like, oh, maybe I should look into this. And so I decided to join up on a neo-Nazi forum, and I got a good gist of what it was from them, and then I was treated like shit at that point because I was a furry, and they cast me out.
So you were rejected from the neo-Nazis. Wow.
I wonder
that's
why.
Not surprising. That's not surprising at all. No.
Yeah, they hated me.
Nazis take no sexual deviancy. Yeah.
But I was just trying to learn. I'm a hands-on person. I don't just like go to wiki and stuff. I go to the source. And that's how I learned a lot of these skills and traits I do know that have made me be able to have a good financial freedom. But yeah, my experience of them has been pretty negative, but it's not like I want to attack you kind of negative. It's just like, we don't want you around, and go over there with all your special, autistic furries friends. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. It's not like they haven't done anything to prevent me from being furry, so I don't really care what they do. So that's how I kind of left it at. I mean, I'll acknowledge that what was done in the past was pretty horrible, but I don't want that to affect my current stance as me being who I am. So I take a deep breath and keep pushing forward.
So you still wear the armband and still think it's a worthy fashion statement?
I wouldn't say it's a fashion statement to me, but it's just me. And other people want to take different visions of it. They, like I said, different colors. They want to wear it as a tailband, or they want to put, they want to have a shirt with the logo on it. It's gotten to a point where it's not really about the armband and what it symbolizes. It's just the fact that I am standing up for that. I can be this person if I choose to be, and other furries have that full right to do the same. So if you want to put a fursuit on and put a diaper over it, that's totally fine too. I ain't gonna judge.
That's a whole nother can of worms.
I know it is a whole other can of worms, but
Rain Fur is 2015.
yeah.
So,
I saw that picture. That was interesting. I was like, I don't know if I would engage with someone that's like that, but I'm not going to go up there and have a problem. That's for sure. So
yeah, I walked past that guy. So I was like walking like on like I think it was it was like where the con-ops were. I think on the second floor, and I passed by that guy coming out of a room, and I was like, what? Why? No. You could wear a diaper wherever you want, just not in the same place where children are walking around. Like, come on. You're trying to teach kids that you grew out of that phase. Right?
Yeah.
So he should wear pull-ups, is what you're saying.
He's a big boy now,
He's a big boy.
Done with
Or at
all
least
of
a
you.
pens or something.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I mean...
That's for a different stage in life.
I know people like to ridicule others for their fetishes and interests, and I think it's gotten kind of silly now at this point in the fandom. I mean, we're a very unique breed of people.
Now, let's see. I want to cap this off with something. So, Foxler, if you were to look at the entire furry fandom, like it seems like quite a few in the fandom are offended. They are offended by your symbol, and they don't take it. They don't really take your word on its intent. Do you want to apologize to the fandom for offending them?
I would say I have a love and hate relationship with furry fandom. I've kind of always have because of the way that furries have treated each other over the years. I've seen things like when when mersuiting became popular, like 10 years ago. People
Mersuiting? What?
I'm 13. I don't understand this.
I don't know. It is.
Yes.
Okay, so I just saw a lot of kind of just this ostracizing, discriminating behavior for a long time, and I don't feel like apologizing is going to be the right step, because we need to first understand the reason why people do what they do, and that I think is the better step than trying to say, well, I was wrong, and they're going to expect, okay, so you're wrong, what are you going to do about it? I'm like, well, the only two options I have is not be Foxer anymore or be Foxer. And I still want to be my persona no matter what, then they're going to say, well, that apology isn't worth anything. And it's just... All
right, so officially you don't want to apologize to anyone. You just want to say that, look, maybe your intent wasn't to promote Nazism, but it is because you like this band and you feel it is an expression of you. Is that a good way to communicate? Big message you want to say to the whole fandom?
And I can do it on a personal level. Like, I can say I understand where you're coming from, and I'm sorry that it has affected you that way. But this is where we kind of draw the line. This is where this is as far as I can go with it as an individual, on an individual level with another furry. As a community as a whole, that's gonna take a little bit. I'll have to really sit down and think about how I would like to, if I ever had to or want to present that, how that would be.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that the neo-Nazis rejected you and that you're not a Nazi. I think a lot of people might be relieved to hearing that. Do you think there's any chance there might be some closeted Nazi furries that are, going through your trash can, just sort of like, somewhere deep within the fandom?
I've met a few already.
Really?
Oh yeah. Because obviously the Furry Raiders do not judge any of your interests, so people do come far and wide. And my best response of that was that somebody that claimed that he was like super hardcore about it, knew everything about it, and then he's sending messages to some of the members of the group. He's just this 18-year-old. Is like, hey, I'm super gay. Here's how cute and gay-loving furry I am. And then I just love how he puts an armband with a swastika on it right next to his thigh. And I was just like, yeah, don't make me laugh, man. I can't take that. Yeah. I can't take that seriously.
Go to Gulag.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you can make all the claims you want, but that ain't gonna make it believable. I'm sorry. So no, even the closet ones are completely disconnected, I think. But yeah, no, I don't think even for people that are on the anti-fascist side or anything like that it's really serious business. But I could be wrong, proven wrong. So we'll have to find out and see if furries can hold it together.
Oh no! Actually, I got another question. If Hitler was next to you right now, would you punch him?
That's a good question. I don't know I don't think I'd punch him because I'd probably want to sit down and ask questions.
Well, yeah, I think if Hitler was right next to you, we need to have another special guest on this podcast.
Yeah. How did he get here?
You guys know he speaks German, right?
You summon him.
That's
through
what
the
Google
Ouija board.
Translate is for.
I mean, I'm gonna be like, Khord, we need a translator right now. This is serious business.
We'll use the Ouija board; it will work.
Oh yeah. So we're gonna have Hitler with the Ouija board. That's great. Oh my God.
Or you got Google with the new headphones, the ones that like translate in real time.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's neat.
I could just see that, like a webcam version of that, him trying to figure technology out too. It'd just be like,
what is this?
oh. So yeah, it's. I don't want to see any physical violence towards anybody for any reason. That's just that's unnecessary. I've had it kind of happen to me in some level to degree, and I think that's where it draws the line, is that when you're starting to hurt other people physically, that is not good. That is like stepped completely over the line.
And you would say you have absolutely full respect for the family and relative and survivors of the Holocaust and suffering that they've been through?
I would. My knowledge is limited to that. I don't know how to be put in a position like that.
Well, at least you're honest. It's good you're honest. That's all people could really ask of you.
No, yeah. The thing is, I have no relations that I could understand in that position. I mean, like I said, I would have to sit down and talk with them. I'd have to see.
Do you have a local synagogue? My local synagogue has Holocaust survivors and relatives of survivors that attend that service. So maybe there's a synagogue near you, Foxler, where you can talk to those people.
Or actually, one thing I could recommend, if you go to I've been to the Holocaust Museum in I think it's either Maryland or Washington D.C. and Israel, and it's a little gloomy, it's a little depressing, but it actually is so full of information, and it's really fascinating. It is just like crazy fascinating. So I totally recommend checking one of those out. Just because there is nothing wrong with educating yourself about the history of the world.
I'm not against it, and I'll try to make much time as I can. It's a busy life.
And also, if you also want help with history stuff, I've been studying history for years and went to college for a little while, so I can help too if you wanted it.
And if you're near the South, you can stop by the Civil Rights Museum in Birmingham, or in Atlanta, Georgia, the MLK exhibit. There we go.
No,
MLK exhibit. What's that? What's the abbreviation on that mean?
MLK.
MLK. Martin Luther King.
Oh, my bad.
So I want to say, like, this podcast interview, this has a moral. Kids, stay in school. Like, that's the
kids don't be racist.
Yeah. Or if you're gonna drop out, do some homeschooling or a lot of Wikipediaing. I think
or start a YouTube channel. There you go.
Because I think.
Wait, you try to judge that I'm only have knowledge in one sector of life.
No,
what?
We're not saying. We're just saying that you would not be in this controversy if you didn't drop out of when you did. Right?
Yeah, there we go.
Yep. Yeah. Foxler,
get to the end of high school.
Foxler, just say good morals are good, right? Good morals.
Yeah, good morals. Good morals are good. Yes.
Now I want you to say kids stay in school.
All right, for all the young little furries out there, stay in school.
Thank you, Foxler.
Your life will be far more easier.
Yes, you won't be called a Nazi by a bunch of furries. That's the bottom line.
But still, it was an interesting experience.
You learned what you learned, and it's always good to learn more. There's nothing negative about.
Yeah, it's just over time and period. I mean, my focus was in the field of engineering, electronics, and computer science, and that's where I put a lot of my effort into it.
Well, hopefully people are a lot more educated about at least how you see yourself and what your beliefs are, because there's I'd say the majority of the furry fandom is convinced that you are a neo-Nazi.
They are convinced that I am a reborn hash of Hitler.
And partially a result of just glancing at headlines and stuff and moving on with their life. They don't really look into you, Oh,
yeah. Like, some of the statements out there are pretty crazy. I'm like, what was funny, we did a poll like a year ago, and everybody, like, is Foxer white or other race? And almost like 90% said that I was white. I'm like,
your Wiki Fur page says you're part Thai?
Yeah, I am part Thai.
how much of a part? Like, is it half?
My mom, yeah, half. My mom's full tie.
Okay. That's way more interesting than my DNA. I took a DNA test earlier this year. I am less than 1% Nigerian.
Woo.
Yeah, I'm like really, really white.
Yeah, my father's, he's part German, most of it, but, he's like third generation, so.
I'm 100% cat, so I'm better than all of you.
Oh, shit. I just saw that.
I'm part Nigerian.
All right, well, thank you, Foxer, for this very interesting interview. I think we all learned something strange and new and whatever.
Yeah, when isn't the furry community strange?
I don't know. But, yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chris, Crazy Possum,
welcome.
Dax, Khord the Skunk, and ZincCat. Before I end this episode, I just realized we have 2 cats, 2 foxes, 2 possums, and 2 Khords. Isn't that interesting?
That's the party.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my.
I think that's interesting. All right, so thank you, everyone, for participating. Everyone have a very nice day, and bye-bye.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good rest of the afternoon.
All right.